free for 10 days.
philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. You know, I've been doing this business of trading over 55 years. God, they make it so complicated. It doesn't have to be. The best way to learn is to follow me, my actual investments. That's right. When I buy a stock, you follow me. Do exactly what I do. That's the best way to learn.
Check out the free 10-day trial. Learn more at philsgang.com.
Be my co-pilot at philsgang.com. Do what I do.
That's philsgang.com. Why are investors listening to Phil Grande of philsgang.com?
You know why people listen to my show? Because I make it simple. When you talk about the stock market, they make it so complicated. I make it easy to understand. For the average investor, the Main Street investor, most of the time, these guys, like they're talking to each other. We talk directly to you and we listen to you.
Invest better with the sound advice of Phil Grande at philsgang.com. When making wise investment decisions, Phil Grande has some sound reasons you should join Phil's gang.
You know, when I started this, they asked me, okay, can you explain to people why they should join the gang? Gee, I thought about that. And I guess to make money. But more than that, to get good direction on which way the economy's really going. We get so much crap, so many lies, how great the economy is and how great the tech business is, and when it's not. The problem is we have too many people in Washington and in this industry that just don't tell the truth. The truth is everything. And here at Phil's Gang, we stick with the facts. We tell the truth. We make sure our members, are getting the best information, and our listeners, like you. We make that information available to you and make it simple and understandable.
Good investing means understanding how the stock market works. Join today at philsgang.com. If you invest in the stock market, take a moment for this important advice.
Hi, I'm Phil Grande at philsgang.com. You've got to stop listening to the fake business news networks because they tell you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear.
Phil Grande guides you step by step on investing.
You're going to know exactly what the tone of the market is. Do I sell? Do I not sell? Do I buy?
All you need to know is philsgang.com.
Check it out, philsgang.com, philsgang.com.
When making wise investment decisions, Phil Grande has some sound reasons you should join Phil's gang.
You know, when I started this, they asked me, okay, can you explain to people why they should join the gang? Gee, I thought about that. And I guess to make money. But more than that, to get good direction on which way the economy's really going. We get so much crap, so many lies, how great the economy is and how great the tech business is, and when it's not. The problem is we have too many people in Washington and in this industry that just don't tell the truth. The truth is everything. And here at Phil's Gang, we stick with the facts. We tell the truth. We make sure our members, are getting the best information, and our listeners, like you. We make that information available to you and make it simple and understandable.
Good investing means understanding how the stock market works. Join today at philsgang.com. The stocks discussed on Phil's Gang are not in any way a recommendation or solicitation to buy, sell, or hold. If considering acting on information presented, we first recommend you seek out a competent, licensed professional for advice. Get ready for the radio show that tells you what Wall Street doesn't want you to know.
Oh, I'm a money magnet. Money, money, money's coming to me. Money sets me free. I'm a money magnet. Money, 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 money's coming to me.
It's your daily dose of how to manage your money. And now it's time for Phil's Gang on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. With your host, Phil Grande.
Too many corporations raise prices to pad their profits, charging more and more for less and less. That's why we're cracking down on corporations that engage in price gouging and deceptive pricing.
Price gouging. That's all we've been hearing about, price gouging, and that's the reason for inflation. But it's not the reason for inflation. Welcome to Phil's Gang. You know, if you take a look at what's really going on And here's something else going on. It's crazy.
Rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts.
That's all we keep hearing. Rate cuts, right? So corporations are gouging. That's why, again, we got all this inflation. And the market keeps going up on rate cuts. But we haven't had a rate cut since October 2022. And what's been going up is rates to cut inflation. So let's first tackle the rate cut excitement. The price gouging excitement. Let's think about this for a moment. So if you take the price gouging, government causes inflation. That's who causes inflation. It's the government that causes inflation, not price gouging. It's government spending. So let's go back and take a little history lesson here. It's amazing when you look at it. So let me just get this stuff over here for you. All right. So price gouging is not the problem. Government spending is the problem. The $2 trillion, remember, that $2 trillion American Rescue Plan. So $850 billion, but with all the hidden fees and everything that's going on in there, it's really $2 trillion. So Biden is inaugurated January 2021. Inflation's 1.4%. We're doing fine. Everything's doing fine. The American Rescue Plan comes in March 2021. 3 months later. And don't forget, at the same time, we cut all the oil pipelines, we cut oil production, oil drilling, cut all that. On top of that, which brought gasoline up right away, and oil prices up, and oil is in everything. Oil is in everything. Lipstick, tires, everything. So that's, and alone, just destroying our oil production, stopping our oil production, is inflation. But let's go to the American Rescue Plan, that $2 trillion plan. So on January 2022, the market starts dropping. So in other words, if you start out with the American Rescue Plan in 2021, and that inflation started to go from 1.4% to 9%. Can you imagine? So you take March 2021, by January 2022, the inflation has gone from 1.4% to 9%. That has nothing to do with a bag of potato chips. That has to do with the American Rescue Plan. That inflation from 1.4% to 9% is the majority of that is the rescue plan. And of course, you have built into that the cutting of oil production. That had nothing to do with gouging at the supermarkets. That's insane. Can you imagine going from 1.4% to 9% inflation from January 2021 to let's say 1 year, March to 2022? So that's what happened. So that's where the inflation is coming from. Now, by October 2022, rates start going up. Because when that inflation hit hard, in that 1.4% to 9%, January 2022, the market starts dropping. Because there was talk of, hey, we got to raise rates. Look at all this inflation. We went from 1.4 to 9%. We got to raise rates. Once they decided, hey, we got to start raising rates, everybody started to sell their stocks. The market started to go down 25%. So that was from January 2022 to October 2022, 25% pullback, all because of rate hikes. We got to start raising these rates. So by October, we were down 25, 30%. Rates were up 4% from zero. So the market was tanking, but they're getting a hold on inflation, but the market was tanking. So now, as I said, while the higher rates we're cutting inflation. At the same time, panic comes in, the market's going down. Powell, it's an election year. He's got to get that market back up. So he comes up with an idea. He said, what I'll do is I'll stop the market from dropping. I'll come up with a fake narrative. I'll say I'm going to cut rates. He's going to cut rates. So think what he's doing. They're raising rates to cut inflation. At the same time, he starts saying, well, we're going to cut rates. We're going to cut rates. They were anticipating a rate cut. So investors kept buying stocks because, again, they were only anticipating it. And that's how the market kept going up. So as long as he kept saying rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts, and there was no rate cuts, and from that October 2022 to the high of, July, July 16, 2024, he was able to rally the market 65% on a fake rate cut, never deliver. So investors were in there buying, knowing he wasn't going to deliver the rate cut. Okay, but everybody's thinking rate cut, I got to buy. Rate cut, I got to buy. I got to buy stocks. So as long as he kept saying rate cut, I'm going to buy stocks. Everybody was happy and they were buying, especially tech stocks, because big tech stocks do very, very well on lower rates. So everybody's buying the Magnificent Seven stocks. Everybody's buying NVIDIA, saying there's going to be rate cuts, and rate cuts are great for technology because these technology companies have to have a boatload of money. They have to borrow all kinds of money. And so everybody's buying tech on a rate cut. But he never intended to do the rate cut. So you got the market going up on high rates, even though he's raising rates. So he's raising the rates. We're still at 5%, the Fed rate, still at 5%. Can you imagine that? What magic that is. So that is building a huge bubble. So think about it for a moment. So you've got a situation where once we got that American Rescue Plan in, and that's not, again, what came behind that, remember, is the recession, is the Inflation Reduction Act, which is even worse. So, but think how they manufacture this. So we have the American Rescue Plan. We were doing beautiful before that. We only had 1.4% inflation. They do the American Rescue Plan. Now, in the meantime, that inflation goes from 1.4 to 9%. Now we're in January. We're in January 2022. And Powell says, I better start talking about rate cuts. You look at the inflation, it's going crazy. And sure enough, before he did that, the market starts to tank. So the market goes down 30%. That's when he came up with a scheme. So I can't touch the rate hikes because I got to fight inflation, but I'll turn around and keep promising rate cuts and I won't do them. And so the tech stocks kept going up and up and up. And the tech stocks, the market went up 65% on a promise of a rate cut. But we haven't had one yet. Now think about that. What a scam that is. He knew he wasn't going to cut rates. He knew that. But he also knew investors would go in and start buying tech stocks, which drove the whole market, especially NVIDIA, because of rate cuts. I mean, that's what tech stocks need, rate cuts. Never delivered them, but as long as he anticipated them, said they're going to come, people are willing to buy stocks. But there's a big problem when you anticipate rate cuts. Big problem. You anticipate rate cuts, that creates inflation. That's right. Because what happens is oil prices start going up because you have a weak dollar. So while he's saying rate cuts, and people are buying tech stocks, at the same time, you got a problem of inflation because you now have your dollar getting weak and your oil prices going up. See, when your dollar's strong, you got a lot of more dollars to buy oil with, so prices go down. So look how he's manufactured this huge bubble. But you can't convince anybody this is a bubble. You can't convince anybody. Everybody say, oh, wow, this is no bubble. This is great. Look at this. So it's a huge bubble because, again, going back to not only the fake rate cut, now he's saying, by the way, and then when we had our 2,000 point drop, now the reason why we had the 2,000 point drop, no, they've been lying to us about the labor market. Now, the labor market, if you recall, they kept saying, we got a strong labor market. We got the best labor market. Nothing like this labor market. It's really strong. And it's the labor market that's underpinning this whole economy. If it wasn't for the strong labor market, we wouldn't have this strong economy. Everything's based on the labor market. Oh, wait a minute. So finally the market drops 2,000. Why? Well, because we got this terrible jobs number that they weren't expecting. And also, people are getting tired of every month they give you a high number for jobs, and then they revise. I mean, they give you this great number, and then they revise it. They revise the number. Instead of having 200,000 jobs, then they quietly, a month later, don't tell anybody. They're just real quiet. We really didn't have 200,000 jobs. We only had 10 jobs. But by then, everybody's bought stock based on a good jobs number. Well, so in January, that hit, and investors get a little tired of that. So that's why the market started to drop. But then what happened is, what took the 2,000 us down 2,000, on top of that, was the fact that the yen, the Japan currency, they had to start raising their interest rates. So New York hedge funds would go to Japan, borrow money from Japan at low rates, then come over here and borrow the dollar, and then they would go ahead and they buy stocks with that cheap money. Well, all of a sudden inflation's going higher and higher and higher, and the dollar, remember, the dollar's getting worse and worse and worse. And as the dollar's getting worse, because again, this rate cut, all of a sudden Japan, they're getting killed, their currency, so they got to raise the yen. They got to move up their interest rates. And then all the carry trade simply means carry trade. People go to Japan and carry cheap dollars over here to the United States. That's where the term carry came from. And they do it all, of course, over a line. They don't, nobody actually carries the money over here. But once they found out that, you can't keep saying rate cuts and get away with it without, again, killing your dollar. And when you keep killing your dollar, remember, you got oil prices going up. But worse, when you're killing your dollar, you got a lot of guys on Wall Street who are into this carry trade, and all of a sudden, all these guys on Wall Street had margin calls. And that's why the market went down 2,000 points. That's huge. So make sure you're watching that yen, because that yen keeps going up. Now they say, well, they're not going to do it again. Japan promised they wouldn't do it again. Are you kidding me? You never believe a thing Japan says or China when it comes to the market. All right, I'll be right back. Join my gang, Phil's gang. Get my stock picks.
Want more information on this show? Go to philsgang.com or give them a call at 877-600-GANG.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here. And it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
When you listen to the advice of Phil Grande at philsgang.com, you'll find investing in the stock market makes sense with the right guidance.
People keep saying to me, boy, things are hard, things are tough. Boy, the market's really screwed up. And I don't agree with them. For us here at Phil's Gang, we make it so it's simple. It doesn't matter if the market's bad or good. We consistently do well because we make it simple. And just like for my listeners on the radio or on the internet or my podcast, we make it simple. Cutting. Okay, now I said from January.
Welcome back to the Phil's Gang Radio Show. Want to know more about Phil's Gang? Go to philsgang.com or give us a call at 877-600-4264. Now, here's Phil.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah. We will not have a Department of Justice that conducts itself as the personal lawyer of the president, such as the way that Donald Trump has done. And whoever leads the Department of Justice, if we win, is someone who will be independent and will make the decisions based on whatever in their discretion with the facts and evidence they have is appropriate without any interference from the White House, period.
No interference from the White House. No, they're not going to interfere with Trump, sue him or anything like that. No, that's not going to happen. And I'm a little confused about this one here, though.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Yeah, I got a little confused last night. Maybe I didn't hear right. I thought she said last night she wasn't going to ban fracking. Gets confusing, doesn't it? That's why we always follow the money. One thing about the stock market, you always follow the money. It's really interesting. They tell you how wonderful things are. And the consumer's doing well. Take a look at this. We'll put it up here for you. Get this out of the way. This is, look at the savings. Look how savings have dropped. Because of all this inflation. People had to dig into their savings. This has nothing to do with corporations or gouging. Look at this. Can they see that? So from 400 billion, now we're negative. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? Monthly change in excess savings. Look at this. That's just insane. And they're telling us how great the labor market is, which is a huge lie. Because they had to have that lie. They needed that lie to keep the market going up. And look at the unemployment rates going up, not down. What are they talking about? So when you're in a business of trading, you got to just follow the money. That's what we do here at Phil's Gang, just follow the money. So anyway, if you take a look at this chart here, if you go all the way back, as far as we can go back here, okay, I don't know how far I can get back. Let's see if I can get back far enough to October. Right here, October. Okay. So what happened is I don't have January. Why? Because they started to talk about we got to raise rates. Why? Because the American Rescue Plan has caused such inflation in such a short period of time. I mean, it was like, what, a year and 3 months, whatever, from 1.4% to 9%? What are you, nuts? So as the market was coming down, if you follow me here, as the market was coming down, by October the market was down 35%. Now remember why it was coming down, because Powell had to raise rates. So to cut inflation, he had to raise those rates. But he had to do something to rally the market. He couldn't let the market keep going down. We had a hell of a crash. So that's when he came up with the fraud. Said, I'm going to tell everybody we're going to have rate cuts. We're going to have rate cuts. So that's when he started the rate cut, October 2022. Rate cuts, rate cuts, rate cuts. And of course, you do that to push the big tech stocks, because it's the big tech stocks that drive the whole market, for heaven's sakes. NVIDIA since 2009 is up almost, 54,000%. In the last 5 months, NVIDIA's up something like, something crazy, 2,700%. But all these tech stocks need to borrow a lot of money. Apple's the only one that doesn't need to borrow money. But all the other tech stocks, you got to borrow money. So that's what drove this whole market up. This has created a big bubble. See, this is what people don't understand. This has created a huge bubble. The fact that they can keep saying we're going to cut rates and not cut rates is the problem. Now, the other problem with saying you're going to cut rates, it's very dangerous because it creates inflation. Because your dollar gets weak. On rate cuts, your dollar gets weak. And when your dollar gets weak, that brings in inflation because oil prices go up on a weak dollar. Okay? Oil prices go down on a strong dollar because you have more dollars to buy more oil. So by the lie of rate cuts, he's been able to drive the market up about, I think, from October to its high, about 65%. But this is the biggest bubble in the world right now. But you can't convince people of that because it's gone up on the pledge of rate cuts. Now, here's what's going to be really interesting. Now, Powell is the lapdog of the White House. He's got to keep this market going. So if you look here, we had that 2,000 point plunge because of the carry trade, right? Meaning that we had that when all these guys from Wall Street, and let me tell you, much of the hedge fund carry trade is what keeps our stock market going. Okay, it keeps our stock market going. So as long as all these boys on Wall Street can get cheap money borrow money from Japan, the yen, and they take that money and they can come over here and borrow the dollar, and then they're in the stock market. And look how fast it dropped. The minute the yen went up a little bit, and they got margin calls. So we got to watch that too. So you got to watch the yen. Because, the symbol, I'll help you out, the symbol on the yen, let me just give it to you here, is FXY. And my gang members, we watch that every day. Because, see right here how we had that big rally, and that's what caused that big crash. We had the 2,000 point crash. So again, what's going to be a little scary right now is they drove the stock market back up on a promise of a rate cut in September. But how's he going to do a rate cut in September? For God's sakes, we still have inflation. We have inflation on necessities. Look, if you take from the day Biden took office right to today, right now, inflation is still up 20%. Now that's overall inflation, okay? But if you take out and put aside the necessities, what you need every day, like eggs and food and groceries, we're up more than 30%. So how the biggest damage is going to come if he starts cutting rates when you have inflation on necessities, auto insurance, you know what I'm talking about. We all pay our bills. It's crazy. Can you imagine he's going to cut rates just to push the stock market up to keep it going for the election? Now, everybody does that in the White House. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. They all do it. So, and that's why as a trader now, we got to be very, very careful and see what, and really keep our eyes first on the yen, okay, and see if that's going to keep going up, because that could cause another crash. But the fact that he's going to now cut rates, he said, in September, and going into inflation, now oil prices are going to go up. Oil prices are going to go up. So you better, again, when they start doing that would be a good trade, oil trades. And if you want to know how to do these oil trades, just go to my gang. In fact, just join my gang free for 10 days. For 10 days. In fact, we have one of the best, if you take a look, right here. When you join the gang for 10 days, you get your training course here for beginners. It's a video, it's about a 30-minute video. And you have a pattern recognition course, 30 minutes to go through that. And then you have advanced learning. These are all, videos. And so again, it's free for 10 days. You get access to that, all right? And then you trade right along with us. And we focus on 6 stocks all year long, the same 6 stocks all year. That's how you make money. You make money by focusing on the same stocks and know how to go long and know how to go short. Okay, going back to what's going on. Now, remember this thing with the banks. So they're saying that the banks are really strong now because they're going to have loan demand, because they're going to be cutting rates. There's going to be a lot of loan demand. Well, he knows he's lying about that too, just like the way he lied about rate cuts when he wasn't going to cut them. Now think about it. He said rate cuts since October 2022. He hasn't cut a rate yet. We're in 2024. That's what drove the market. Now they're saying rate cuts. People are jumping in and buying banks. Now we are too. We got some beautiful. We bought XLF, and we caught a nice rally in XLF. But remember what's going to happen. You got to buy in the rumor and then sell in the fact, because these banks are in deep trouble. The reason another reason why he's going to keep saying he's cutting rates, he's got to save the banks, because the banks are in deep trouble. And there's so many delinquencies. By dropping the rates, he's trying to help the banks with the delinquencies. If you take the $17 trillion in debt that the households have, $4 billion of that debt, okay, $4 billion of that debt they can't pay. The 5 banks sent a letter out to Wall Street saying, this is the first time in history we can't get paid. We're owed $4 billion that these people simply don't have the money. We're going to have to write it off. So, and then you take all the credit card trouble. Do you know that 60% of people with credit cards, we're not talking about people who earn $50,000, $20,000, $40,000, up to $200,000 incomes. 60% up to 200 from let's go from 45,000 to 200,000. 62% of them only pay minimum. And they did a survey, and what they were told, the banks, the reason they're only paying minimum is because they believe when Harris gets into office, which looks like she's going to, that she's going to not only forgive the student loans, she's going to forgive all credit card debt. All credit card debt. So that's why people aren't paying this minimum, because they think their credit card debt will be gone once she gets in there. You know, it's interesting. I don't like talking politics, and I very seldom do, but I got to say something. You know, you look at how tight the race is, and you really wonder, how could it be tight? How could it be tight? It's almost impossible. But you know, when you go and you look at a movie, you rent a movie, and they give you a trailer, and then you get the movie, and you say, oh, the trailer's a fraud. The trailer's a fraud. It would not even like the movie. It's a terrible movie. Well, what we got was a trailer on socialism. We got a trailer on socialism. If you think about it, when we had COVID, you got 2 unemployment checks. The government took care of everybody. You didn't have to work, got 2 unemployment checks. You didn't have to, your moratorium, you didn't have to pay your house payment, your car payment, insurance payment. People got used to that. They got used to that. They're going, oh my God, this is socialism? The government takes care of everything. They got a taste of that. So I'd say most of the voters don't care about what she's flipping about. The people in Pennsylvania, even though fracking is their whole life, they certainly believe now if they put her in office, they don't care what she does with fracking because they got a safety net. The government will take care of them like they did during COVID. Can you imagine? This is why people say, how could it be so close, this race? For heaven's sakes. I mean, there was 4 years of Trump, whether you like him or not like him, he did close the border. She opened it. People are getting killed because of her. The fentanyl and murders, but think about it. They're running a trailer. They already ran that trailer, and that was the COVID trailer. That's how people think it's going to be, because we're going to turn to a socialist nation. Obviously, if she gets in office, because she is, radical, and she's a socialist. She won't deny it. So that's why my opinion is why people say this race is so close, because people think, hey, I'm going to get free everything. All right, look, the market, as this market, everybody says, Phil, do you think the market's going to rally into this election? Of course. But we may get one more pullback. Before we get that last rally. But yes, I do believe there's a high probability of the market going to the election. All right, that's it. I'll see you on the chart. Join my gang, free for 10 days.
You have been listening to Phil's Gang with your host, Phil Grande, on the Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Off the Wall Street Radio Network. Remember to visit Phil's website at philsgang.com. That's philsgang.com. Or call the office, 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
It's up to me.